Hi, my name is Ashley Simons, and I'm one of the product managers for MuleSoft Composer. Welcome! Now that you have access to Composer and have planned what you want to build, it's time to design your flow. A flow is simply an automated process that connects to one or more systems and performs actions on the data from those systems. This allows you to access your data instantly without waiting around for development resources, and therefore make existing processes more efficient and improve your team's productivity. Regardless of your use case and whether it involves NetSuite or Salesforce, Jira or Google Sheets or some other system, building a flow follows the exact same pattern every time. In 4 steps, connecting to systems, adding logic like loops or conditions, testing, and activating, you'll automate this process without ever touching a line of code. So let's take a basic use case. Each time a new campaign member is added in Salesforce, after checking that they're not an internal employee, you want to ensure that their details get added to your event tracker in Google Sheets. So let's open up Composer and talk about each of these pieces. You start in the Flow List page. Here, you create a new flow. Now we're in the Composer Builder. The first question you want to ask is, what is going to start the flow? Am I going to pull data from a source system, or do I want to run it on a schedule? You can see all of the systems that you can connect to and pull data from. Start the flow by adding a new connection. For your use case, you need to authenticate into Salesforce, where the information about the campaign member lives. You'll do this by creating a connection that you'll be able to reuse in later flows. This lands you in the canvas and you're ready to start building your flow. The first step always defines the trigger, the event that starts the flow. Regardless of the system, this will generally be checking for new records, updates to records, or deleted records. These triggers pull the end system every 10 minutes after the flow is active. For this use case, we want to kick it off each time a new campaign member is created. Depending on the system, there might be a few additional configuration steps. For this use case, you can pull in all the fields of the campaign member, or just the ones that you know you want to work with in your flow. For all triggers, however, there will be sample data on the right-hand side of the card. This section displays the fields from the record being returned and sample data for each field that is pulled directly from the org to which you are connected. By checking it, you can ensure that you've selected all the fields you want and have set up the connection correctly. Next, you're ready to add one or more additional steps. To get more complex, you can add if-else statements or loops. You can create an if-else block to set conditions and execute actions only when specific criteria are met. This enables you to create flows that cover more than one linear branch without the need to create separate flows. You can add a for each loop if you want to iterate over a list and act on individual objects. This is particularly important after a getRecord step that returns a list of objects that meet the criteria you've specified. For example, you get a list of all the support cases that are in a pending state and then want to loop over them and send a reminder Slack to the case owner. To continue with our use case, you will add an if-else statement to process only the records you need. Campaign members, where the account name is not your own company, Northern Trail Outfitters. You define the statement, add the criteria, no code necessary. So let's go ahead and add the next step. This will likely be selecting your target system. Choose its icon and create a connection to it. After you've connected to your second system, you're ready to build out the action card. These will either be actions that create, update, or delete records in that system, or that get or fetch additional information about a record to use in subsequent steps. Note that in some systems, creating a record might take the form of sending a Slack to a channel or a text message via Twilio. Go ahead and choose the action Create New Row. Then select your spreadsheet and worksheet from drop-downs. Notice that they're immediately populated with your data. Regardless of what action type you've selected, the required data you need to specify will appear on the card automatically, and you can specify the optional data. Update each column by adding text and/or dynamic data from the previous steps in your flow, allowing you to customize the columns and include details specific to the member being processed. Now you have the basics that all flows will follow: a trigger that pulls data from a source system, and action cards that act on one or more target systems. You're all set up! Now let's test it to make sure there are no errors in how you configured it and it runs as expected. Let's put it in test mode. I'll go ahead and add a new member to the campaign in Salesforce. And voila! I see a new row added in my Google Sheet with all of the necessary information about the new attendee, like name, email, and phone number. Now your flow is ready to activate. In this scenario, activating a flow enables it to continuously run and perform the required syncing between Salesforce and Google Sheets. So let's recap. All flows follow the same pattern. Authenticate to your source system to create the trigger step, add a series of actions to one or more target systems, and include some logic if needed. To learn more about which connection types, triggers, and actions each connector supports, check out the connector reference documentation and the connector-specific training videos, and then choose which connectors you want and plug and play to get started. Thank you for watching, and happy composing!